Greetings. Welcome to part one of our four-part series for peer leaders, focusing on coaching skills to promote mental health, resilience, and well-being. My name is Nikita Gupta. I am the director of the UCLA GRIT coaching program, which is part of the UCLA RISE Center.
And I'm Drea Letamendi. I'm a clinical psychologist serving two offices, the Office of Residential Life and the UCLA RISE Center.
In this series, we will review helpful techniques to notice, approach, engage, and support students in your community from the perspective of a peer helper. We will practice using a holistic lens of wellness and increase your confidence and competence around helping students who are in distress. So as we know, life is complex and we are multidimensional beings who hold so much on a daily basis. We are resilient by nature. The complex experiences that students navigate at any given point in their campus life can be viewed through a model called the Wheel of Wellness. This model shows that there are 8 dimensions of wellness in a student's life, whether it's their intellectual wellness, their physical wellness, their mental and emotional wellness, and so on. Students are always engaged with these domains of life, whether they may be conscious of it or not. For example, a student exploring their career domain may be in the process of choosing a major, or maybe they are exploring different affinity groups to match their social and personal identities. This is an example of existential exploration. Finding a balance between all of these complex dimensions, it can be really challenging for students. And as a student leader, it's important for you to know that all of these things may be occurring in a student's life, whether they let you know about it or not, and that these experiences have an impact on their inner well-being.
So let's talk a little bit about the well-being of the students that you might be supporting or working with. You might have a question about what mental health or a mental health condition might refer to in this instance. What I want to share is that it's important to acknowledge that mental health is essential and impacts all of us, and that mental health essentially refers to our behavioral, our emotional, and psychological well-being. There are some things you might want to look for when working with a student, so let's talk a little bit about some of those signs of distress. First, you might notice some cues or signals that relate to a person's appearance. So this could include a decline in personal hygiene. Do they appear fatigued? Now thinking about their mood, do they appear to show signs of lethargy? Are they lacking energy? Do you notice that they might seem actually kind of tired? Are they even falling asleep during your interaction? Other things that you might be noticing have a lot to do with their behavior. So are they showing irritation or agitation? Are they short or irritable? Do they even seem angry or upset? These different patterns might be seen or observed in their language, or it could be observed based on their expressive states. And then there might be some things you may notice just in terms of their appearance or presentation, like dramatic weight loss, or some other sign that that you may be concerned of that they're not doing well. Additionally, keep in mind that there may be signs of drug and alcohol use that, again, might be different than what you're used to seeing with that individual. Also take into account the direct verbal expressions that a peer or another student might be sharing with you. It could be something vague or general, like I'm just not doing well, or I feel very tired, or it could be something more specific related to how they're feeling, related to their motivation, related to their exhaustion, or an expressed mental health concern. It's important to be aware that everyone has their own unique patterns of behaviors and personality, as well as their emotional states. So one thing to keep in mind is whether these are differences that you're noticing. Are these declines? Is this a pattern? Or is this someone's continued way that they've been interacting with you? So just kind of keep these things in mind.
So when working with students, it can be sometimes difficult to hold the responsibility for checking into their mental well-being. Many students leaders feel nervous or concerned that they may not do or say the right thing, or maybe not even know how to assess a student's well-being. So we can use the Wheel of Wellness as a way into the conversation. When we first start working with a student, there's a session flow that we can keep in mind to help move a student along through the process in the limited or expansive time that you may have with them. A typical session flow can go like this. We first assess how a student is doing. Then step 2 is to focus on one or two of their key needs that they have expressed. The third step is then to empower them to make the next best step that will get them to the next day or to the end of that week in support of the challenge that they are having. You can have the Wheel of Wellness on a sheet of paper, like what's reflected in your handout packet, or you can keep some of the Wheel of Wellness domains in your mind and just popcorn around the wheel and ask students questions related to different parts of their life. So for example, you might say something like, hey, how are your classes going? Or, hey, how are your friendships going? Who have you connected with this week? And especially in this time of being on a virtual campus, that connection piece is really crucial for student mental health, well-being, academic, and overall success. So what we're going to do now is we are going to role play a scenario with you in which you can use the Wheel of Wellness to assess a student, focus on one or two issues that they may be experiencing, and then empower them to take the next step. Hi, Josie. How are you today?
I'm okay, I guess. I'm fine.
You're fine? Okay. Well, what does fine mean?
Um, yeah, I guess, I mean, every day seems the same.
It seems the same. Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about what's happening in some of the different parts of your life. Like, how are your classes going right now?
Oh, I feel like we just got started. I feel pretty good about a couple of the classes that I have. I actually do have one of the in-person lab classes, so I feel grateful to be enrolled. But yeah, we just got started, so I guess I feel okay about that.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad that you're going to get to have some engagement and to be in a physical space in one of your lab classes. That makes sense that that would feel kind of exciting for you. What else? How has tell me about some other parts of your life. You're new to campus. What's it like living in the dorms?
I guess I don't know. It's a little disappointing. I thought I just have a couple friends that are back home, and they're not here.
They're not here. Yeah, so they're not here. So it sounds like maybe you miss them a little bit.
It's just not the same.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and okay. And what do you mean by that, that it's not the same?
I guess I was expecting this to look a little different. We just, I have really two close friends that live with me up in NorCal, and I was basically the only one who moved to campus, and I just feel kind of lonely. I feel
Mm,
like, I don't know who's missing out. I don't know if they're missing out. I feel like I'm missing out too.
And what do you feel like you're missing out on?
I don't know, just the friendship just really changed.
Yeah.
And so I guess I feel, I don't know, maybe lonely.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense that you would feel lonely, especially given such a transition and that we're kind of separated right now. Have you been able to make any friends on campus or any connections on campus yet?
We do have in our floor, there are a couple of like virtual events that I'm kind of interested in. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of shy, but I hope to meet someone on my floor. Um, so not quite yet, but there seems to be some promise of a couple of people that seem really friendly.
Well, that sounds really promising that there are some opportunities for connection that you are building here on campus. Thank you for letting me know what's going on with you. So in that brief assessment, we could see that Josie Bruin was at first a little reluctant and kind of reluctant to share what was going on underneath the surface. She was happy about classes, they were fine. But as I moved around the Wheel of Wellness, probing a little bit more into her class experience, she revealed that part about feeling wanting more connection and that she missed her friends and tapping into the social domain of her well-being. And you could hear in her voice, and she kind of validated that there was a bit of loneliness there, touching on her mental health and emotional domain of well-being. So in that way, we can spend some time assessing a student and give them some time to let themselves feel comfortable in going deeper in their share and reflection. So I want to ask Josie Bruin right now, how was that assessment process for you? If you could walk us through some of your internal process.
I'd say two things. One is that, I initially intended to kind of be a little closed so that, I think that represents a lot of our interactions, right? That this is a day-to-day experience for us. Sometimes we'll say like, how are you doing? How's it going? And often there's the obligatory, like, I'm fine. And we seem to also have a culture of doing the best we can and like just always being positive. So I wanted to start there, and I appreciated that you continued to ask me some gentle questions. I didn't even notice you were so deliberately and structurally moving through that wellness wheel. So there was a nice, genuine, natural flow to it, and I appreciated that that we were able to cover some different ground, but not in a way that made me feel like, oh gosh, you're just looking at a manual or you're just asking me a list of questions. So it felt very authentic.
Beautiful. Thank you. So in that way, this is some examples of how we can use the wellness wheel to assess the student, then focus on one or two of their major needs, and then empower them towards taking the next steps.
Thank you, Nikita. Now, throughout this process, you may start to feel unsure or uncertain if the conversation should continue the way it is. Maybe you're experiencing some things that are shared that alert you to a concern. So always know there are other people that can help you in this process. So your next step or your next action may be very much related to what was exchanged in the conversation. If it is a high level of concern or you're unsure, call Duty RD for consultation and to help with the response. If it is a low level concern, make sure to include an informational note or an FYI incident report by the next day.
We hope you enjoyed this segment of our series focusing on assessing student mental health and well-being. Please check out the remaining videos in our series for ways to build on the skills learned in this video and bolster your confidence and ability to support others. Thank you.